Neptune stations retrograde today, and I want to start here before we settle into the meditation. Neptune retrograde is one of the most clarifying energies in the astrological calendar, and most people don't use it that way because nobody tells them what it's actually for. Neptune is the planet of dreams, spiritual connection, inspiration, beauty, and transcendence. It's also the planet of illusion, of wearing those rose-tinted glasses, of the stories we tell ourselves that are more beautiful than they are accurate. So Neptune in direct motion can make things look a certain way, enchanting, possible, better than they actually are. And Neptune retrograde lifts that veil. The fog clears, the glamour dissolves, and what has been obscured, what you've been seeing through the filter of what you hoped was true rather than what actually is, becomes visible. And this is not comfortable. It can feel like loss at first sometimes, like something beautiful is being taken away. But what is actually happening is that you are being returned to your own perception, your own clear seeing, your own capacity to distinguish between what is real and what was a beautiful story that you needed at that time. For empaths and highly sensitive people, this transit is particularly significant because empaths are already naturally attuned to the Neptune frequency, to feeling the energetic undercurrents, to perceiving beyond the surface, to sensing what isn't spoken. The risk is that this attunement can also make you susceptible to Neptune's shadow, absorbing others' energy as if it's your own, mistaking intense feeling for deep truth, seeing potential in people rather than who they are, actually showing you who they are. Neptune retrograde is the season to recalibrate, to see clearly again, to trust your own perception above the story. So that's what we're doing today. Go ahead and find a comfortable position if you haven't already, seated or lying down, and let your body fully settle into the support beneath it. Let's take a slow breath in and hold for a moment at the top, and then fully release. On this exhale, let your vision soften. Even with your eyes closed, let whatever you've been holding in focus, the to-do list, the worry, the plan, let it all kind of blur at the edges. Now let's do it again. Breathing in deeply, hold, and then let it out. A little bit softer, a little less held. And one more time. And this time, as you exhale, let the inside of your mind go quiet as you can. Not empty necessarily, just quieter. Like a lake surface after the wind stops blowing. Things are still happening beneath it, but the surface becomes still enough to see through. Good. Now let's begin. Neptune's fog is subtle. It doesn't feel like confusion. It often feels like inspiration, like love, like faith, like the story that makes everything make sense. This is what makes it so easy to stay in. Neptune retrograde begins to dissolve it, not violently, more like morning light burning off of the mist. Things that were blurred become more edged. Things that seemed one way begin to reveal themselves as something quite different. Now I want to ask you, with the most gentleness and without any judgment, where has the fog been in your life lately? Is there a relationship you've been seeing through the lens of potential rather than reality? a situation you've been telling yourself a particular story about because the alternative is too hard to sit with. Or a pattern you've been spiritualizing, framing as a lesson or a purpose or a meant to be, when some part of you knows it's simply not working. Let whatever comes up for you come up. Don't resist this clarity. The fog was comfortable, yes, but what's underneath of it is what's true. Now I want you to notice that you can handle whatever it is that you see. The clarity does not break you. It orients you. This is Neptune retrograde working correctly. Not taking away your dreams, but ensuring that what you're investing your energy in is actually real. This is the piece I want to say to empaths specifically. You have spent a significant amount of your life being told that your perception is too much, too sensitive, too dramatic, seeing things that aren't there, feeling things that can't be explained, making meaning out of things that are just coincidences. And some of you, as a survival strategy, as a way of functioning in relationships and environments that couldn't hold what you perceived, learned to distrust yourself, learned to override your own clear seeing with someone else's reality, learned to doubt the knowing that arrived in your body before you could articulate it into language. Neptune retrograde is asking you to reclaim that self-trust. Not the self-trust that says you're always right about everything. The self-trust that says, my perception is valid data. What I sense is worth taking seriously. The first knowing that arrived before I started explaining it away, that deserves my attention. Think of a recent situation where you had a first knowing, an initial sense of something, and then talk yourself out of it. What was it that you knew first? And what did you override it with? Now, I'm not saying that the second thought is always wrong. I'm saying the first knowing is worth listening to as data and not dismissing as imagination. So now I want you to repeat this after me in your mind or out loud. My perception is valid. What I sense is real even when it can't be immediately explained. I trust the knowing that arrives in my body before my mind has time to override it. My clear seeing is one of my greatest gifts, and I am learning to trust it. Neptune at its best is visionary, compassionate, and deeply spiritually connected. Neptune at its most challenged tells beautiful stories that prevent you from seeing what's actually in front of you. The gift of this retrograde is discernment, the ability to hold both, the vision and the reality, and know which one you're standing in at any given moment. So, in the quiet right now, I want you to pick one area of your life where you suspect the story and the reality might not be perfectly aligned. Not to attack the story, but just to look at both clearly. What is the story that you've been telling about this area? What is the reality that's been showing up regardless of that story? Now I want you to hold both of those things in your mind, without drama, without collapsing either. Just look at them side by side. What does the reality actually need from you? Not the story's plan, but the reality's actual next step. That step, however small, however different from what you had planned, that is what Neptune Retrograde is pointing at. The real next move. Not the beautiful vision of where you thought you were going, but the actual ground beneath your feet and the actual step forward from it. Neptune is also about spiritual connection, and the retrograde asks us to look honestly at our spiritual life as well, not to dismantle it, but to purify it. Is your spiritual practice connected to genuine inner knowing, or has it become another form of story? Are you using spiritual language to bypass something that needs to be felt and moved through? Are you surrendering to divine timing in a way that feels genuine, or using it to avoid action that you know needs to happen? And these are not judgment questions. They are the questions that Neptune retrograde makes possible to ask because the fog is clear enough now to see them. Your spiritual path is real. The connection is real. Neptune retrograde is simply asking you to make sure the form that connection takes in your life, the practices, the beliefs, the frameworks, is still genuinely serving your becoming rather than providing a comfortable story around it. So I ask you, what is true in your spiritual life right now? What has honestly become habit without heart? What do you genuinely know? Not what you've been told to believe, not what makes a good narrative, but what you actually experientially know to be real. Let that be the foundation, not the doctrine, not the framework, the lived, felt, known truth. That is Neptune at its most pure. Perception that reaches beyond the ordinary into what is genuinely real. Now let's take a full breath in and slowly release. You've done the clear seeing work today. You've looked honestly at where the fog has been. You've reclaimed the validity of your own perception. You've looked at where story and reality might be parting ways. And you've brought honesty to your spiritual life. That is Neptune retrograde working with you rather than to you. Now, Neptune will be in retrograde until December, so you have time. This is not a one-day process. It's an orientation, a commitment to seeing clearly, trusting your perception, and choosing what's real over what's beautiful but not quite true. Neptune lifts the veil not to take your dreams away, but to show you which ones are actually yours, which ones are rooted in genuine knowing and genuine desire, and which ones were borrowed, absorbed, or inherited from somewhere else. The real dreams survive the retrograde. They're still there on the other side, just much more clear, more honest, and more yours. So see clearly, trust your perception, and choose what's real. Neptune retrograde, working with the clarity it came to bring. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes.